अस्सलाम वालेकुम डियर फ्रेंड्स। आज हम डिस्कस करेंगे पॉलिटिकल एंड कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन डेवलपमेंट इन पाकिस्तान, कोर्स कोड 4668 और अल्लामा इकबाल ओपन यूनिवर्सिटी एंड लेवल मास्टर पाकिस्तान स्टडी। यूनिट 1, ईस्ट पाकिस्तान क्राइसिस। ईस्ट पाकिस्तान क्राइसिस कैसे हुआ था और प्री क्राइसिस क्या थे और क्राइसिस और कॉन्फ्लिक्ट और फिर सेपरेशन, ये सारा इसी चैप्टर में आज के लेक्चर में हम डिस्कस करेंगे। फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, प्री क्राइसिस फेज August 14, 1947 to 5th January 1968. The domains of Pakistan, including West Pakistan and East Pakistan, was formally established on 14 August 1947. Sir Frederick Kemmler Bonds was appointed as governor of the East Bengal, and Khwaja Nizamuddin of Muslim League (ML) was appointed as chief minister of province of East Bengal on the 14 August 1947. On 8 December 1947, students at the University of Dhaka demanded that Bengali be made an official language of Pakistan. Students at the University of Dhaka organized a general strike on 11th March 1948. Governor General and President of Pakistan Constituent Assembly Muhammad Ali Jinnah declared that Urdu would be the only official language of Pakistan during a speech in Dhaka, East Pakistan, on March 24, 1948. Governor General Muhammad Ali Jinnah died on 11 September 1948, and Chief Minister Khwaja Nizamuddin took over as Governor General of Pakistan 14 September 1948. Pre-crisis phase 14 अगस्त 1947 to 5 जनवरी 19, ये सेम कंटिन्यू है जो प्रीवियस था कि नूरुल अमीन of the Muslim League is appointed as Chief Minister on East Bengal 15 September 1948. The Awami Muslim League was established in Dhaka, East Pakistan by Maulana Bashmi Shamsul Haq and Sheikh Mujibur Rahman on 23rd June 1949. Sir Feroz Khan Noon was appointed as Governor of East Bengal on 31 March 1950, and on January 26, 1952, a committee of the Pakistan Constituent Assembly recommended that Urdu be the only official language of Pakistan. On January 30, 1952, Bengali students and others established a Bhasha Andolan. Bhasha Andolan means Bengali language movement in favor of the recognition of Bengali as a national language in Pakistan. Prime Minister Khwaja Nizamuddin, who was of the Bengali region, spoke out in the favor of Urdu as a national language on 21 February 1952. ये सब प्री क्राइसिस थे, मीन्स जो बंगाल में यानी ईस्ट पाकिस्तान में हो रहे थे, और उनकी वजह से जो है ना वो इसको हम प्री क्राइसिस फेज कहते हैं। नेक्स्ट क्या हुआ था, गवर्नमेंट पॉलिसीज एंड स्टूडेंट डेमोन्स्ट्रेटर्स क्लैश्ड इन ढाका ऑन February 21 to 23, 1952, resulting in the death of 10 individuals. Chaudhry Khaliquzzman was appointed as Governor of East Bengal on 31 March 1953. The United Force Coalition, including the Awami Muslim League and Shri Shankar Party, Nizam-e-Islam, and the Ganatawarid Dal, was established on 4th December 1953. Legislative elections were held in East Bengal on the 12 March 1952, and the UF coalition on 232 out of 309 seats in the Provisional Assembly, and Abdul Qasim Fazl Haq of the UF coalition was appointed as the Chief Minister of East Bengal on 3 April 1952. Sikandar Mirza was appointed as Governor of the East Bengal on 29 May 1954. अगर ये अभी कंटिन्यू है कि अबू हुसैन सरकार ऑफ द कृषक Samarak Party was appointed as Chief Minister of East Bengal on August 1955. The province of East Bengal was dissolved on 14 October 1955. On 29 February 1956, the Pakistan Constituent Assembly approved a new constitution assembly establishing a Pakistani Republic with both Urdu and Bengali as official languages. मीन्स जो है ना बाद में पाकिस्तान की असेंबली ने बंगाली और उर्दू दोनों को ऑफिशियल लैंग्वेज डिक्लेयर किया. इस्लामिक रिपब्लिक ऑफ पाकिस्तान was formally established on 23rd March 1956. Government police fired on Awami League demonstrators in Dhaka on 4th August 1956, resulting in the death of the three individuals. On 7th October 1958, President Iskandar Mirza abrogated the 1956 Constitution and imposed martial law with General Muhammad Ayub Khan appointed as Chief Martial Administrator. तो 1958 में जो है सिकंदर मिर्ज़ा ने कानून जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन था यानी उसको ख़त्म कर दिया, असेंबली को ख़त्म कर दिया और पाकिस्तान में मार्शल लॉ नाफिज कर दिया था. उसके बाद 27 अक्टूबर 1958 को जनरल अयूब खान deposed President Iskandar Mirza and assumed the presidency. President Ayub Khan promulgated a new constitution which went into effect on 8 June 1962, and AL and other political parties established a National Democratic Front on 4th October 1962. President Muhammad Ayub Khan denounced the autonomy movement in East Pakistan on 20 March 1966, and Sheikh Mujibur Rahman was arrested on 18 April 1966. Government police and demonstrators clashed in Dhaka and Narayanganj on 7 June 1956, resulting in the death of 10 individuals. Some 100 individuals were killed in political violence between 1949 to जून 1949 से लेकर जनवरी 1968 तक 100 इंडिविजुअल जो है पॉलिटिकल वायलेंस में डेथ हो गए थे. उसके वेस्ट पाकिस्तान गवर्नमेंट अनाउंस्ड द डिस्कवरी ऑफ एसोसिएटेड conspiracy in East Pakistan on 6 जनवरी 1968 एंड अब ये हमारा क्राइसिस फेस है जो 1968 से 6 जनवरी 1968 से 25 मार्च 1971 तक चल रहा है. गवर्नमेंट पुलिस अरेस्ट शेख मुजीब रहमान, president of Hawaii Muslim League, on 18 January 1968. 34 of their individuals were also arrested by government police, and 3 of these individuals were killed in prison. Government police fired on the demonstrator in Dhaka, East Pakistan on December 7, 1968, resulting in the death of 2 individuals. 8 opposition political parties established the Democratic Action Committee in Dhaka on 8 January 1968, and 60 individuals were killed during the demonstration in East Pakistan on January 24 to 30, 1969. Some 675 individuals were killed in political violence in East Pakistan from 7 December 1968 to 30 January 1969, and Sheikh Mujibur Rahman was released from the police custody on 22 February 1969. After that, President Muhammad Ayub Khan abrogated the 1962 Constitution and imposed martial law. फिर 1962 का कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ख़त्म करके मार्शल लॉ लगा दी गई एंड हैंड ओवर द पावर टू द जनरल यहया खान ऑन 25 March 1969. Legislative elections were held on December 7, 1970, and the Awami League won the 176 out of 313 seats in Pakistani National Assembly, and Awami League also won 280 out of 300 seats in Legislative Assembly of East Pakistan. All the Awami League proposed transferring power from federal government to the state government. Some 170 individuals were killed in the political violence in Dhaka on the 1 to 3 March 1971. and East Pakistani troops fire on Bengali demonstrator in Jadavpur on the 19th of March 1971, resulting in the death of some 50 individuals. Crisis phase अभी continue है पाकिस्तानी West Pakistani troop fire on Bengali demonstrators in Saidpur, Rang- Rangpur, Chittagong on 24th March 1971, resulting in the death of the more than 1,000 individuals. President Aga Mohammad Yahya Khan declared the state of emergency in East Pakistan on 25th March 1971. Okay, next conflict phase. During 26 March 1971 से स्टार्ट हुआ था, दिसंबर 16 1971 तक चला था. Government troops from West Pakistan launched a military offensive against Bengali nationalists, including Bengali troops and policemen in the East Pakistan, beginning on the 26 March 1971. President Aga Mohammad Yahya Khan formally banned the Awami League on 26 March 1971. Sheikh Mujibur Rahman was arrested by West Pakistani soldiers on 26 March 1971. The government of Indonesia and Iran expressed support for the West Pakistan on 28 March 1971. The government of India expressed support for East Bengali rebels on 31 March 1971. They provided military assistance, weapons, and training beginning in June 71. East Bengali nationalists formed a liberation army, a Mufti Bani, to fight the West Pakistani government troops commanded by जनरल टिक्का खान. मीन अब जो है ना जंग के हालात थे और जंग बाकायदे स्टार्ट हो गई थी और पाकिस्तान की गवर्नमेंट ने जनरल टिक्का खान को यहाँ से कमांडर भेजा था. Pakistani troops killed more than the 1,000 civilians in the Jinjagara and other towns near Dhaka on 1st April 1971. And the government of the Soviet Union appealed to the West Pakistan government to cease fire on 2nd April 1971. The government of Malaysia and Turkey expressed support for the West Pakistani government on 3 April 1971. West Pakistani government troops captured Jessore from East Bengali rebels on April 6, 1971. The USA government appealed to the West Pakistan government for a ceasefire on 7th April 1971. Chaudhry, Prime Minister Zhou Enlai of China expressed support for the West Pakistani government on April 12, 1971. East Bengali translation declared East Pakistani independence from West Pakistan on 14 April 1971. And West Pakistani government troops captured Chodagha provision capital of East Bengali nationalists on 18 April 1971. Okay, same conflict phase चल रहा है. West Pakistan troops killed members and supporters of Mukti Bani in Gopalpur on 5th March 1971 and May 5th May 1971. On 6th May 1971, the government of India announced that some 1.2 million Bengalis had fled as refugees to India. Some 153 personnel from the United Nations High Commission for Refugees, United Nations Children Fund, and World Food Organization provide humanitarian assistance to refugees in India and internally displaced individuals beginning on 19 May 1971. At least 8,000 individuals, mostly Bengali Hindus, were massacred by West Pakistan troops in Junagadh on 20 May 1971. The British government sent a four-member fact-finding mission to the region on June 21 to 28, 1971. The British government imposed military suspension of military assistance against the West Pakistan government on June 23, June 1971. Okay, the US government imposed military cession against the West government 8 November 1971. India referred the matter to the UN Security Council on 18 November 1971. Muktibani rebels launched a military offensive against West Pakistani government troops on 21 November 1971, and West Pakistani government declared a state of emergency on 23 November 1971. The West Pakistani received military assistance from Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Libya, and Iran. Some 150,000 Indian troops intervened in the support of East Bengali beginning on 27 November 1971. Prime Minister Indira Gandhi of India appealed for the withdrawal of West Pakistani government troops from East Pakistan on the 13 November 1971, and West Pakistani government troops launched a military offensive against East Pakistan on 3rd November 1971. Okay, अभी next we continue है US government referred the matter to the US Security Council on 4th November, December 1971. The Soviet Union vetoed a UN Security Council resolution of 6 November 1971, 6 December, which would have appealed to parties of ceasefire. The government of India provided diplomatic assistance to the provisional government of Bangladesh on the 6 December 1971. The UN General Assembly appealed for a ceasefire and troops withdrawal on 7 December 1971 and demanded a ceasefire on 15 December 1971. Some 90,000 West Pakistani government troops and civilians surrendered to India troops in East Pakistan on 16 December 1971. Some 5 lakh Bengalis, 5,000 East Pakistani government troops, and 1,050 Indian troops were killed during the conflict. Some 10 million refugees fled from East Pakistan and India during the conflict. The separation of East Pakistan occurred in 1971. The separations element that began to work with the emergence of Pakistan in 1971. The following were the main causes of the separation of Pakistan: Hindu influences. 40% Hindu population had full control over the economy of East Pakistan. ये काजेज़ हैं, ठीक है, जो हमारे तरफ से शो किए जाते हैं कि पाकिस्तान समझता था कि ये इश्यूज़ थे। जैसे 14% हिंदू पॉपुलेशन का था, तो वो उनका इकोनॉमी पे ईस्ट पाकिस्तान पे कंट्रोल था। एट फर्स्ट द हिंदूज वर द मेंबर ऑफ द इंडियन नेशनल कांग्रेस, बट आफ्टर पार्टीशन दे फाउंडेड देयर ओन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन पाकिस्तान नेशनल कांग्रेस. द मेंबर्स ऑफ पाकिस्तान नेशनल कांग्रेस वाज पाकिस्तान in front political agents of India in East Pakistan. Failure of Muslim League leadership in East Pakistan. Cabinet did not pay due attention toward the problems of people, hence incapability zero, because zero in eyes of people. The politicians fought among themselves in the rest of chair. ये भी एक काज था, कुर्सी के जो ना वो पीछे सब लग गए. Conflict over language. Bengali took position for the Bengali language. Even in the first lifetime of Qaid-e-Azam, although Bengali was adopted on one of the two national languages, Governor Union Khan banned the broadcast of the Tagonet song and poems over the Dhaka radio and the important Bengali book from Kolkata. Unity of Bengali Muslim and Hindus. The established majority of Pakistan legislature, they had to unite with their fellow Bengali Hindus, and therefore the men like Hindu Sharwar H.S. Sharwardi was a considered advocate of joint electorate. Delay in the constitution making process. Delay in constitution making process gave a rise to suspicious and misunderstanding between the people of two houses. The population of the East Pakistan was 56%, and Bengali demanded their representation according to the percentage of population in National Assembly. ये भी एक रीज़न था कि उनकी population ज़्यादा थी. President form of government. President system could have at least partially offset West Pakistan demonstrated in civil and military senses. Military services में या civil में उनको जो है ना 6 point of शेख मुजीब रहमान, Awami League view was supported by 75% of electorate in East Pakistan, who voted in the election in 1971. 1970, Pakistan shall be federation grooming full autonomy on the basis of 6 point each of फेडरल यूनिटी. मुजीब रहमान के 6 पॉइंट हैं, वो भी एक रीज़न था. फर्स्ट मुजीब रहमान का पॉइंट यह था, कैरेक्टर ऑफ गवर्नमेंट शैल बी federal and parliamentary. The representation in the federal legislature shall be on a basis of population. Population बंगाल की ज़्यादा थी, इसलिए वो ये चाहते थे. Second point था, the federal government shall be responsible only for defense and foreign affairs. फेडरल गवर्नमेंट को सिर्फ डिफेंस और फॉरेन अफेयर्स की जो है ना वो अथॉरिटी दी जाए, बाकी सब प्रोविंसेस को दिया जाए. There shall be two separate currencies mutually or fractionally convertible in each wing for each region, and fiscal policy shall be a responsibility of the federating units. Separate account of foreign exchange earning of each federal unit, and unit shall be empowered for maintain a paramilitary force in order to contribute to our national security. These were interpreted by West Pakistan as designed to bring about delegation. Role of ruling elite, civil serving, military hierarchy, इनके रोल भी ज़्यादा थे. ठीक है, तो काजेज़ बहुत हम डिस्कस कर चुके हैं. अभी यहाँ पे डेयर क्लियर असेंडिंग एज अ रूलिंग ग्रुप हैड लॉन्ग बीन एस्टेब्लिश्ड पार्टिकुलरली इन मिलिट्री कोपा वायू खान in 1958. This group was made in decision in terms of economic and defensive power, and East Pakistan liberally complained that there was a few East Pakistani officers in higher posts of civilian services. And until 1960, there are higher officers were from West Pakistan and had emerged from Muslim majority areas of India. Pakistan Army was recruited from 4 districts of northern Punjab, Rawalpindi, Jhelum and Gujarat, and 2 districts of NW Peshawar and Kowat, and 60% army considered from Punjabi and 30% पख्तून जवान. ठीक है, तो पाकिस्तान आर्मी में भी उन जो लोग थे वो पंजाबी थे, यहाँ पख्तून थे, एंड बंगाली वर स्टिल कंसिडर नॉन मार्शल रेस. उनको जो है ना वो नहीं कंसिडर किया जाता था. सेपरेशन बिटवीन रूलिंग इलाइट फ्राम द मेजॉरिटी पॉपुलेशन, इकोनॉमिक disparity between East Pakistan and West Pakistan. ये भी काज था. West Pakistan elite favored the policies of economic growth of West Pakistan. The policy of industrialization through the encouragement of private sector date back to 1948. Most of lucrative import license were given to the West Pakistan. Share of East Pakistan was about 64% of total investment, public and private. And during the first 5 years plan, 1955 to 1960, the total revenue expenditure in East Pakistan was 2.5 billion as compared to 8.9 billion in वेस्ट पाकिस्तान. ईस्ट पाकिस्तान की बजट भी कम थी, पर उनकी पॉपुलेशन जो है वो ज़्यादा थी. द वेव ऑफ resentment against this disparity had been rising since 1954 election, but no dramatic and significant change was made in policies, this resulting into the bitter opposition and resentment toward the central government. Major factor responsible for slower growth of East Pakistan was agriculture. Doctrine that economic inequalities were necessary for rapid economic growth of the country. 22 families control over the economy of the entire country. Political system Pakistan could not cope with the stresses and strains generated by negative economic policies, and so eventually broke down. Intense is a failure in the enforcement of legislative framework over order of 1970. This order was drawn up to provide a basis for the election, for the creation of national and provincial assemblies, and for the drafting of constitution. National Assembly had to complete the task of framing a constitution within 120 days. After the original failure of the National Assembly to meet the spring of 1971, modifications were introduced in LFO, revealing the assembly by the responsibility of framing a constitution but confirming power to amended constitution. General Yahya Khan failed to enforce legal framework order and result was political unrest between two parts of the country. And 11th number, the war of power between Bhutto and Mujib. Awami League, this is the main reason. The Awami League, by virtue of its overwhelming majority in election, was entitled to establish this government, but Mr. Zede Bhutto, having the pedagogue from the General Yahya Khan, boycotted the session National Assembly at Dhaka, which was postponed by General Yahya Khan. Mr. Mujibur Rahman allied Yahya Khan with the Persians and began to mitigate the people of civil war. Military operation in East Pakistan. Mujibur Rahman refused to go to Islamabad. His home became center of all policies and administration affairs of East Pakistan. On 23rd March 1971, a lot of West Pakistani were massacred and Bangladesh flag was hosted instead of Pakistani flag. The Pakistan Day was celebrated as Resistance Day. General Tika Khan was made the governor of East Pakistan. A successfully crashed the anti-government elements but could not manage the affairs properly. Due to the non-cooperation of Bengali bureaucracy who were responsible for the revolt, the military operation brought inexpressible miseries and suffering to the Bengalis. The result of the central government deprived herself of the public support and sympathies. And 13. Hijacking of Indian plant to Lahore on 30 January 1970. Hijacking if the aircraft Ganga was arranged by the Indian intelligence agencies as the commemoration of series of action taken by the Indian government. Incident occurred at the time when talks were in progress between the leaders of Awami League and People's Party of Revolution of Differences. Indian banned Pakistani flights over strategy to disrupt communication between two halves and strengthen the separation tendencies. The integration of superpower. Pakistan was an intimate friend of China, but the superpowers like America and Russia wanted to terrorize China by surrounding it on all bases. This was not possible in case of the United Pakistan. The USA not only encouraged Israel to provide arms to India but also forbade Saudi Arabia and Jordan to supply arms to Pakistan. The US did not care for the defense treaty of 1959 CENTO, by which the American was bound to help Pakistan in case of foreign aggression. Indira Gandhi's successful tour of Europe and USA. Before military invasion, Mrs. Indira Gandhi toured Europe and America, got aid from rehabilitation of refugees from East Pakistan and surety from USA not to aid Pakistan in case of Indian invasion. She further transist the image of military dictatorship of Pakistan by doing propaganda against it. 16. The military invasion of India. After winning political battle, the Indian government began to send sabotage into East Pakistan under the title of Mukti Bani. The insurgent created a situation favorable to the Indian invasion. Pakistani army fought gladly, but due to poor supply line, Pakistan army held a surrender. Misbehavior of Pakistani delegation at UN. Poland represented a suggestion to UN for the ceasefire, but it was turned into pieces by Mr. Bhutto and had refused to accept ceasefire proposal. This paved the way of separation of East Pakistan. Indian invasion in separation of Indian involvement in the separation of East Pakistan. There is no idea of doubt in stating that India was central at the crisis and separation of former East Pakistan when Chandragupta Kantiya policies came into full swing in 1931. However, Chanakya was advised to never share your secret with anybody. It was destroy you. Therefore, Indian hid their secret of intensity, exploiting and fighting their war. Rather, they unleashed an unceasingly propaganda that blamed Pakistan and its armed forces for this rebel. India targeted Pakistan with Kotaliga's script by exploiting the international situation in former East Pakistan and hiding the truth. In fact, India played a central role as a conspirator in the separation that finally took place in December 16, 1971, and the time had came that India decisive role in the tragedy to explore and expand the world, exposed to the world. In fact, India had adopted a four-pronged strategy toward East Pakistan from 1965 war, and India swiftly accommodated and explored Bengali refugees who fled into Raipur, Mahagabala, Assam, and Kolkata, etc. in 1971. India provided the food, shelter, medicine, and made propaganda moves on its basis. On 23rd of March, on 29 April 1971, the Indian cabinet ordered General Sam Maheshwar to launch a military operation in East Pakistan. In 1987 war, the Mufti Bani became the military wing of Indian Army, and Indian intelligence agencies RA provided training and arms to Mufti Bani rebels. Indian government trained guerrillas, banned destructive activities, and fueled revolt to create such situation that people of East Pakistan got deceitfully convened to demand separation from Pakistan. India had acted on a long devised plan. On behest of India, an exile government, also known as Mujibnagar government, was formed under the Awami League leadership. Sheikh Mujibur Rahman as a president and Tajuddin Ahmad as a prime minister on 17 April 1971 at Meherpur. The exile government sought an alliance with India to fight against Pakistan's forces. Later, the exile government moved to Kolkata to seek international support for the so-called liberation. इंडियन मूवमेंट जो है बहुत मतलब ज़्यादा थी, इसीलिए जो है उसके सारे पॉइंट यहाँ पर मेंशन है, पर हम आज इस वीडियो लेक्चर थोड़ा ज़्यादा बड़ा हो जाएगा, इसलिए यहाँ तक एंड करेंगे। नेक्स्ट लेक्चर में फिर डिस्कस करेंगे। अल्लाह हाफिज़।